Thanks a lot for joining my presentation. So I'm Sabine Rück. I'm based in Vienna. I'm the client technologist for Southeast Europe, working for LENOVO. And I'm responsible about the sync product portfolio at LENOVO. And in the next 45 minutes, I'm happy to show you what are the new products we're just launching. I just brought 3 devices, sync devices with me. I will show you the innovation we have included in these new products. And we also have a new end-to-end solution, security solution. And I will present that one to you as well. So Sync is really a very long established brand. So it was now 28 years since that time IBM founded the Sync brand. The first Sync, for example, was already launched in 1992, so pretty long. And the engineers which did create the first Sync pads are still part of them with LENOVO in our innovation and the development centers worldwide. And the core defined functions of the Sync brand already at that time was simplicity, function, and our research and development team, we have over 3,000 engineers, they look into the design, the innovation, and really the trusted quality of the product. So if you look at the ThinkPad, you will find design points which you know from the first ThinkPad already, which is the red dot at the keyboard, which is the black color. So they will look pretty much the same. We do innovations here a lot, but for us the design is not so important. But what is important is that the user gets the job done very fast and very easy with the ThinkPads. Also, we do a lot of innovation. At least the Think brand, we have a lot of innovations where we were the first ones which introduced features in a ThinkPad. For example, it was the first wireless card, it was the first fingerprint reader, it was the first color screen. So Sync brand is really famous for a lot of innovations, and I will show you more in the presentation as well. And of course, design and innovation is important, but it needs to be the quality, the trusted quality the Sync brand is aware of. So that's important as well. And the fourth topic here, it's really a new one from LENOVO, because what we see that security breaches increase more and more. So if you open the newspaper, if you watch TV, you will hear one or the other leakage every day. So what we did, we have a lot of innovations, a lot of processes which help you to have strong security. So that's really an end-to-end security solution from LENOVO, which is called Sync Shield. And I will touch base in the next few minutes on this Sync Shield solution. And why security gets more, it was simpler some time ago, but security and the complexity for IT really is increasing these days. So users have multiple devices, for example, they have the notebooks, they have the mobile phone, they have tablets, and they do access the company data not only from the primary device, but also from mobile phones. And also, people are traveling more and more. They log in somewhere to an access point which might not be safe, so the workforce is getting more sophisticated. Also, people are not centered in an office, but traveling, located somewhere abroad maybe. So the deployment, cloud deployment is a big topic, and with that one also security breaches might increase. There are new regulations like GDPR, which is effective starting last year in May. And for example, if there is a security breach based on GDPR, the company need to pay a fine of 4% of the whole worldwide revenue. And this is really significant, so people do care about that one. And security not only starts when the product is in your hand, but it even starts when we start shipping that product from our factory. And this is Ben, so I hope nobody of you is called Ben, but the Ben is a typical employee from any company, and Ben is traveling, and he wants to get his job done. He is sitting somewhere at Starbucks, and do you believe that he takes care about security, about the data, about the passwords? Maybe he does, but most likely he does not care. So he just logs in, he just gets the work done, and then he leaves again. So it's really the IT who need to take care about the security of Ben's notebook and on the data. And we grouped all of that security concerns into 4 pillars, I would say. It's on the one hand side data. So how do I protect the data? How do I protect the identity? So he's really the guy sitting in front of the PC, the guy who owns the PC. Then the device itself. So what about if the device is getting stolen? And also online. So how can data be stolen if I log on, if I use passwords when I log on? So these are the 4 areas of concern. And we call ThinkShield really the end-to-end solution we have covering all these 4 concerns. And in each of the fields we have a long list of innovation, of partnerships, of processes in place in order to protect the data, for example. And I will not go through all of them, but I want just to give you one or the other example. And with data, what we did. So last year we introduced a privacy filter, so an integrated privacy filter. And the technology we use is most of others which you find in the market. They increase the brightness of the screen, so it's not very convenient to use with, to work with. What we are doing, we are decreasing the brightness actually, and at the end, so if the notebook is turned to the left and the right side, you will not see the content on the screen. So that's very simple, it's very efficient. And in 2019 product portfolio, we have now 7 different ThinkPads coming with the integrated privacy filter. We do it on a 400 nit full HD, very high-end screen, and then the screen is a little bit like 50 nits decreasing the brightness, and that's the effect of it. Also, we partner with a software company called Glance, a software company, and that software, for example, detects if somebody is over the shoulder surfing. So if I would work, I don't have the privacy filter turned on, it would detect if somebody else besides me is looking into the screen, and I would get an alert, or I could also switch on the privacy filter automatically. So these are simple ways how we try to, or how we protect the data on the screen, for example. If we look into identity, what is most important, or not most, but one important factor is the authentication. So how do I authenticate myself to the system? And there are multiple ways. We have 8 different ones. You see them all here. Might it be smart card, the standard passwords, and we also have the match on chip fingerprint reader. So actually, LENOVO was the first one to introduce the match on chip fingerprint reader, which means if you do the fingerprint, all the data stores directly in the fingerprint sensor and does not leave the sensor. So which means it's much securer than other fingerprint devices in the market. And we have the match on chip fingerprint reader on all of our ThinkPads nowadays. And of course, we do partner with Intel Authenticate. So in a combination with that one, authentication with a ThinkPad is really the most secure in the market. Online, so here I have Emma, also an employee of any company, and I have a short video to show you what happens if you don't care about online. Yeah, so Emma is also working from a coffee shop, and this nice man, he just created an artificial access point just to steal data from others working in that coffee shop, for example. So that's pretty simple. You can buy these devices of Amazon, for example, in the US. And we have a software called, we partner with Coronet. So this is actually a software who does specific security checks on access points surrounded by you. So if you do want to access to an access point which is at risk, it would give you an alert. So you could then click yes or no, or ID could also forbid or block to log in to this access point, and it can also be configured by IT. So that's one way how we secure when we are online. And last but not least, it's the device itself. Also here you see a long list of what we did. And where it starts from is actually with our suppliers. So we take care who delivers components to us. We have a trusted supplier program where the supplier needs to fulfill more than 200 different features. They need to answer different questions in order to be eligible to deliver to Lenovo. And we do a quarterly update of that one, so we are sure that the parts which we get are already secure. And what we also have is we have a transparent supply chain, so we can check what are the components built into the manufacturing, and when it does arrive the customer, if said components are still in the machine, to be sure that during the transport nobody took out or manipulated the device, for example. Good, and we are doing all of that one in order to help IT with security, but it also yields to result. So this is a survey done by National Institute of Standards and Technology based in US. You can read that one online as well, and it shows the security breaches on devices, and here are the main Lenovo competitors as well, and how many security breaches happened in 2018, for example. And the white number is the amount of breaches, which were 10, for example, by Lenovo, and the orange number is the number of the severity score, so how bad were these security breaches. And you can see that Lenovo really has a low number, and the reason and one part of that is, of course, SyncShield, which is really an end-to-end solution for our customers and to make the life of IT easier, and to protect pen and image revenue.
What kind of vulnerabilities?
So they are also listed on this website. But it's data leakage, it's phishing, and everything which is known from a software. Yeah.
Are those numbers coming from only enterprise usage or customer usage? Because there is a big difference between.
Actually, that's enterprise. It's commercial enterprise.
Okay, because a regular user with a Mac can do stupid stuff, but for LENOVO, it's more for enterprise.
Also, yeah. So the market share, you're right, is bigger in commercial in Apple, for example, but they're also quite significant in Lenovo. Good, and moving away from this ThinkShield security approach, I want to quickly show you the portfolio, how it looks like in 2019. So the product line in general is the mainstream product, our L series product since here. So we have a 14, 15, and a 13-inch, as well as a 13-inch yoga product. The mainstream products are all of that ones, so it's the X and the T series. Here you can see that we have new IDs, meaning that in 2019 these products are totally redesigned, so they have a new look, a new feel with a lot of new features included. So you see a lot of products here on the T and X series, but also on the X1. So the X1 Yoga and X1 Carbon was also redesigned, and X1 is really the high-end and the leadership and the flagship product of Lenovo when it comes on the ThinkPads. And on the right-hand side, you can see our mobile workstations. By now we have 4 different mobile workstations. And also in summer this year, we will get a 14-inch in addition to a 15-inch mobile workstation as well. What is important, what I mentioned from the start, is the security. And for Lenovo, what we do more than 200 different tests in our lab for every single notebook we launch. And prior to launch, they need to pass certain specifications. And then when we launch them, we give them to a US Department of Defense, who do the military specs testing according to a specific procedure. And all of our ThinkPad products, no matter if it's an L series, a T series, or an X series, do meet 12 military specs and 22 sub-procedures. And I have a short video, just 1 minute, to show you which tests we're doing in-house at Lenovo. So that's where only some of them we have. So it's electric shock. It's actually dust as well. It's drop test. It's display torture test, and they are just sitting in that machines and are tested for hours to be sure they are really stable and safe. And only then we would launch the products. And now coming to then what's new for 2019. So that's a long list, and I've included or summarized the main features here on that slide. The X1, X family, and the T series family are really totally redesigned. And before we start to launch new products, we always have called customer advisory forums. So where we ask our biggest customers how the devices should look like for the next 1 or 2 years. And one feedback we got for long was that they don't want to have only the black cover, but also something else. And now what we did the first time is a silver aluminium yoga notebook. So the X1 Yoga, which you see here, which is just launching now, has a totally aluminium frame. And this is, I come to that later because there is a lot of things you need to consider when doing that devices, but that's, for example, one new feature in 2019. Also, we had 12.5-inch screens on the X series and also on the AMD models. So here we moved to 13.3 inch without increasing the size and the weight of the notebook itself. What we still have, which others do not have, is the side mechanical docking. So on the notebooks you will see the connectors on the side. So here we fit a mechanical docking inside. Dell, for example, removed it completely. We still have it in the portfolio. We understand that the trend is going to USB-C to Thunderbolt, but a lot of customers are still asking for mechanical docking. Also, in terms of identity, in terms of security, what is important is the camera. So we now have infrared camera, we have standard camera, and we always have a sync privacy shutter. You don't see it really because it's very slim, but you can always physically close the camera in order that nobody is doing photos, video of you. Match-on-chip fingerprint reader I already mentioned. And we have rapid charge, meaning as the batteries are getting smaller due to the slimmer devices, you can charge all the batteries 80% in just 1 hour, which is a very, very nice feature as well.
Are you still using proprietary connections for the chargers? Are you switching to USB Type-C for that purpose?
Yes, so in all the ThinkPad lineup, we now moved fully to USB-C charging, except of the P1 family and the mobile workstation, because it only supports, USB-C only supports 100 watt. We still have the rectangular one because they need more power. So it's 135 or even higher. But all the others have the USB. And there are a lot of surveys that actually the best screen resolution for 14 inches Full HD, but we get a lot of requests from customers who are asking for high resolution, high brightness screen, Dolby Audio, Dolby Vision. So we do have the latest screens in the portfolio. Like for example here, the X1 Yoga has a 500 nit screen, which is 4K Dolby Vision. So for example, here, if that's requested, we have it as well. But of course, we do have the standard Full HD screens. And what we also do have is a 400 nit low power screen, which roughly consumes less power than the standard screen, and the battery saving is roughly 2 hours. So this is also one additional screen we have in the portfolio for that here. I mentioned the privacy guard, so that's really important in terms of security, and where we put a lot of focus as well is the communication with the device. So these days you travel, you might have a meeting, and then you want to be sure that you have good sound and that you have good microphones. So on all the X1 family, instead of 2 microphones, we have far-field microphones which were sitting on the top of the screen. The range was 4 meters. We now improved them. On the X1 family, you now have 4 speakers, and they sit on top of the system, which means that if you fold it, if you carry it, the speaker, you will always have good access with the microphones. Also on the X1 Yoga, the X1 Carbon, we have upfiring and downfiring speakers, Dolby Audio certified, so you can be sure when you travel, when you need to do a call, that you have the latest audio and the good audio and speaker support here as well. Cat 16 wireless one is coming to the market, so we have that one, of course, included as well in our notebooks. And then I brought 3 different ones with me. So one I mentioned already a lot was the X1 Yoga. So actually the first X1 product which we launched was the X1 Carbon. So that was the first ThinkPad or the first notebook on the market where we used the carbon fiber material in top cover and in bottom cover. Just to let you know, it was 1.4 kilograms 7 years ago. Now the new X1 Carbon is just 1.1 kilograms, so we do a lot of design, a lot of innovation to make it slimmer and lighter. So this would be the new X1 Yoga. Features we do have, for example, in this one, the wireless WAN antenna are often in ThinkPads here in front because there is a lot of space. What we did, we put the wireless WAN antenna to the side. So also here, even if you work, you will have good transmission because it's on the side. And also if you close it, it's still a good signal. In order to make it slimmer and lighter and also thinner, we put the wireless LAN antennas in the hinge. So they are, for example, included in the hinge. And we are also using new cameras. For example, they're just half the thickness of the one we used in 2018. So these are just little things we do generation to generation. You would not necessarily see in order to get them again slimmer, lighter, but, and that's always important, still be as durable with the 12 military specs as before. So this is really the perfect machine for traveling. So you can use it in 4 different modes. What's pretty unique, and this was available in the first yoga mode when we launched yoga the first time, which was actually the ThinkPad was the first yoga notebook. We always have a pen. It's not very big, to be honest, so if you really need to do a writing, you can buy a different one. But this one fits inside the housing. So you always have it with you, and the great thing as well is that it's getting charged. So you can always be sure that you don't lose it, it's with you, and the pen is really charged. Good, and the keyboard itself, even if it's a very slim design, the track, the keyboard track and feel is really the same like a T series or an L series. So that's also important to mention. So that would be one of the X1 products we have available. In addition to that, we have the X1 Carbon and the 15-inch X1 Extreme. And moving, so here you would see some of the features. I will not go through all of them, but I mentioned this 500 nit HDR Dolby Vision certified screen. I mentioned the high-end speakers. There's just the aluminum chassis, very nice look and feel. And you can see that the battery life is around 15 hours. And what's also important to mention is that despite it's very thin, we still keep all the traditional ports. So you always have a standard HDMI port on that machine, which is also important for us, saying this is a must feature to have one native digital port on the machines. You can have it with the privacy guard and of course with the latest Intel processors. And this one is just launching now, so the ship support, it's end of July. So this is just an early demo sample, and ship support is in July for that one. The perfect balance if you travel and if you're a heavy user is the T series. So we have a 14 and a 15-inch T490, T590. This is a T490S, which is slightly slimmer than the T490. It's also just 1.25 kilograms. So this is even similar like the X1 3 years ago. So that's a great product on the T series family. The features, you can see here the dimensions. So here we don't have the really highest end screens like on the X1 Carbon or X1 Yoga, but we still have WQHD, we have Full HD, we have the privacy guard, we have very long battery life if it comes with the low power panel, and here we have the traditional black cover. So it's carbon fiber, magnesium fiber, that's why it's very light with just 1.25 kilograms. But if you need and if you want, we would also have a silver option of that one. Compared to the X1, the T-series differentiate because it's more expandability. So you would fit more memory, for example. The D490 would have a dedicated graphic card. So these are the main differences between the X1 and the T-series family. Spec. And I have one more product with me, which is actually here you see a 15-inch product, which is the X1 Extreme. So this we added to the portfolio last year in summer. On the screen you actually see the P1. This is our professional workstation, but it shares the same chassis. So it would be the same 15-inch, 1.7 kilogram. You can also see here that we have professional level NVIDIA graphic GPUs included. And the great thing is we are refreshing that one in August. So we will have the latest Coffee Lake R CPUs with 8-core Xeon and up to i9 processors. So this is really a very powerful machine in a very slim and light form factor. Yeah, also here we have the high-end UHD 500-bit screen, and also here we have Dolby Surround, the sync shutters, all the features I mentioned, of course, are also available on that 15-inch. Good, and speaking about ThinkPads, we always speak about peripherals. And some are shown on that slide. What we launched recently is a USB-C power bank, where you, with 14,000 milliampere hours, so you can charge the battery, the notebook at least once while traveling. The great thing is that you also have two USB ports, so you can not only charge the notebook, but you can also charge two different devices. And you can connect it with the USB-C or with the rectangular power adapter. So this is a very nice option we have since last summer. And two options I brought with me are just launching and shipping now. So this is the slimmest Bluetooth speaker you can currently find on the market. It's just 11 millimeters. It has a microphone in the front. Nice speaker, all the buttons you need. So if you're on the go and you want to do a Skype call, you are really great with that one. Or if you want to just play music and you don't have the best sound system of the X1, that little tool helps you with that one. And what's also coming, so if you travel, you might not have all the ports with you. Often that's also used as a replacement of the docking station at home. So this is, for example, a dongle which connects also with USB-C. It's pass-through, so you can power it. Here with USB-C, you have two additional standard USB ports, VGA port, display port, and an Ethernet port. So if you're traveling, if you need that port, that's always with you, and slim and light, with nice cable management. So these two are options which are just shipping in June, so they will be available soon.
This requires Thunderbolt 3, right?
This one?
Yes.
No, it's USB-C.
The connector, but what are the power requirements? So let's say you had a first gen USB-C, then it would not be compatible.
It would not be, yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. I don't know now the display resolution, which is supported through the HDMI, but it's HDMI 1.4, so the latest one. So if that would be supported by the notebook, you would have that one as well. It's the latest one. Good, and moving to the Think Center portfolio. So actually here we have a pretty stable portfolio. You can see on the left side the tiny form factor. I have one tiny with me. And what you can see is that we have 5 different form factors, or 5 different ones from the tiny. We have AMD, we have an M720. M720 is always the non-vPro platform. M920 is always the vPro platform. So we have always tiny, power, and small form factor. On the right-hand side, you see the traditional all-in-ones, also non-vPro, vPro. And what we have as well is the tiny-in-one, and I'll come to that a little bit later. What was announced on Monday at the consumer show in US was the M90N. I'm not sure if you heard about that one, but this is really the latest one, and actually it's the slimmest commercial desktop currently in the market, and I have a picture later on to give you more details. If we speak about the tiny, It's very secure and rugged. So we have a metal, which you see here, so it's strong. And we also do the military spec certification on the sync center. So you will not find that one. We don't do 12, but we do 10. So this is a very strong and rugged design. And also what we see is that roughly 60 to 70%, depending on the country, of all the sync center are sold with the tiny form factor. Because you have that much expandability that there is no need for a bigger form factor in a lot of cases. We have a lot of ergonomic solutions, so we are not only offering the tiny, but a lot of options that you can, for example, put it behind a radial arm. It's VESA mount, so you can put it behind displays. You can put it here. That's our dual monitor stand. With a cage, you can put it on the back side of the keyboard. Also, the power adapter can be fitted next to it. So we have all the possible options to mount that device. It's great flexibility as well. So on all the models, you have 2 punch-out ports, which are occupied here. So you can get, I have it here, one punch-out port is a serial port, and the other punch-out port can either be Type-C, VGA, HDMI, DisplayPort, or serial. So this is really flexible and can be configured in the factory dependent on the need of the user. And what's unique to Lenovo as well, and we launched that one last year, so it's an industry first actually, that we have the possibility to put PCIe cards in that device. So if there are no punch-out ports, we have 4 different choices as of now. So you can have a discrete graphic card with 4 display ports, mini display ports. So together with the 2 display ports on the machine, you can connect 6 different 6 monitors on that device. So for digital signage, that's really a great desktop to use. There is the possibility to have for Ethernet, 2 additional USB-C ports, Type-C, and for manufacturing, for example, also an 4 serial port. So this is a very nice tool that to meet a lot of customer requests and scenarios. And then we have the tiny-in-one setup. So on the Lenovo booth, you can have a look afterwards. But by now we have 3 different form factors. So we have a 21.5, a 23.8, and a 27-inch form factor with touch and non-touch, where there is a door at the back of the tiny-in-one, where the tiny slides in. So you close the door, you just secure it with a Kensington lock, which secures the tiny in the tiny-in-one, and the tiny itself on the table, and you're ready to go. So you just need to connect one cable. And the great advantage is, compared to an all-in-one, for example, that if you want to exchange the monitor because you need a bigger one, or if you want to exchange the tiny itself, you can do so. You're very flexible dependent on the need you have on that one. Of course, we have camera, we have speaker, so if you want to do voice over IP with that one, you're good to go as well. And last but not least, I named it here as the next big thing. So this was launched on Monday in US. So we are bringing a new sync center, and it's 0.35 liters. So this is 1 liter, which means it will be like that size, full function commercial sync center. It will come with the Whiskey Lake U processor, so the one which we now have also in the new sync. So from the performance, it will be great performance. You will have all the standard ports needed. So there is one version with a fan, which is 1/3 of the size of that one, which is for the traditional business environment. And there is another option, which is a fan less, which is half of the size of that one. And this is specifically for IoT devices, for manufacturing, where you can control sensors, cameras, where you can open doors. So this is very specific for IoT. And like the tiny, what I said is the mounting that also goes to the nano. So we have the cage for the tiny-in-one, the VESA mount. It's fully charged by USB-C, which means if you have a USB-C monitor, you could even charge it on the table with USB-C, or attach a USB-C docking, for example, on a sync center. So this is a really unique scenario. And what's also important is the energy savings. So already with the tiny, you save a lot of energy compared to a small form factor or a tower. And with the Nano, you even say 15% more. The shipment of that one will be beginning of September only, so that's really pretty new. So stay tuned, the smallest and lightest commercial SIM center you can find. Here you actually have the specifications. So what is important for IT, for business customers, is of course fully micro support. So we have 16 gig or 8 gig. We do support RAID, so it's 2 PCIe drives included, and then wireless LAN of course, and then you have the traditional board including the DisplayPort LAN, so the basic boards you need on a SIM center. And on the right hand side you can see the fanless version, and here it's all about connectivity, it's all about doing connections on different adapters in the environment, and here we have wireless WAN and additional serial ports as well for manufacturing sites, for example. Good, and I give you a little bit of a time back. I'm already at the end of my presentation, so many thanks for listening. And I could only show you a few examples of what is available in terms of sync, in terms of sync innovation. Actually, the portfolio of LENOVO is huge. So we have server, we have smartphone, we have IoT, we have AR/VR, we have the sync pad, sync client, peripherals. We bundle that one with service and software. So if you want to hear more on that one, we are there on the booth. And for now, thanks a lot for listening, and thanks a lot.